Swirl is an awesome package within R that allows you to go through interactive tutorials and work through them right in your R console or through an R script. So in this tutorial or this video, I'm going to set up the Swirl package and start working through it. There's a few things to remember and things to look out for. Swirl is really well designed, but it's not 100% perfect like a total interactive web browser. So let me set it up first. I need to go install packages, Swirl. Once Swirl is installed, I'm only installing it here because I'm in a brand new session and have never installed it before. Then I need to actually load it into my current environment. So I type library Swirl. Then Swirl gives me a little prompt right here. One of the great things about Swirl is that it really leads you step by step through everything you need to type. So let me type Swirl and press enter. And then it's going to give me some text here. It'll ask, what shall I call you? Go ahead and give it a name. It'll ask you this, I believe, every time that you run Swirl. If you exit out of it and come back, it'll ask you this. It's best to always use the exact same name, so then it'll keep track of what you've done. Keep an eye out for these little dots. They'll tell you that means you're supposed to press enter again. And so often it will give you options like this. In this case, doesn't matter what I type, but I'll press 3 and let's get going. So now here is some information about where to or how to navigate through it. There is the skip command, the play command. By allows you to exit. Main returns you to the main menu. Info. I have a brief cheat sheet that I will link to at the bottom of this video so that you can be reminded of what these commands are. I see the little dots there, so I'm going to press enter. So the first thing that Swirl asks you is which sessions or which tutorials do you want to download. One thing that's a little goofy is it's a little harder to download Swirl sessions after this initial round of download than I would like. I have some notes on this. Again, I'll provide links to. But this first time you run Swirl, it's really easy to get up and running. So R programming, the basics, is an excellent introduction for if you've never used R or hardly used R. Regression models assumes you know a little bit about statistics. Same thing with statistical inference. That's more about math and probability. I haven't checked out exploratory data analysis, but all of these would be excellent if you already have some R experience or if you have some statistics experience. So I'm going to start with R programming, the basics of programming in R, by pressing 1. And then I'm going to press 1 again for R programming. The first time I pressed 1, that just downloaded it. Now I'm actually going to load it into my session. So now there are 14 different lessons available. And these vary in their usefulness depending on what your needs are. So basic building blocks is an excellent place to start. Sequences of numbers is also good. Vectors, subsetting vectors, missing values. You could probably skip that on your first time around, but that's an important thing to know. Your first time through, those are probably the first important things to look at. 1, 3, 4, maybe 5, and also 6. You could probably skip workspace and files. Your second time through, matrices and data frames are going to be important. Workspace and files, you'll probably want to know that. Also, base graphics will be important. Functions is probably a good one to look at, and looking at data. If you know you're working with data that involves dates and times, that can be a tricky thing to deal with in R. So you'll want to look at that. Lapply and sapply, that's more advanced. vapply, tapply, also more advanced. Those things are also sometimes no longer used in current R usage because they've been replaced by functions in the tidyverse, ddplyr universe. Then simulation is also potentially useful if you're doing random number generation. So let's start off with the basic building blocks. Push 1. And now it's going to start leading me through some basic aspects of R. So I see dot, dot, dot. I'm going to press enter. It's going to give me some basic information. And now it's going to ask me to do something. So it's saying type 5 plus 5 and press enter. So I'll go 5 plus 7. I'll press enter. And then I run the command. R is actually going to check my work, or swirl is going to check my work, and it gives me some happy feedback. They're going to give me some more information, and then I can move on to the next step. In this case, they're telling me how R just isn't a calculator, but how it kind of works like a scientific calculator. And they're going to get to the assignment operator, which is this little arrow thing made from a less than sign and a dash. So I'll keep going through this. And so I'll go do the next task. Now, one thing is, swirl is going to look for my input and evaluate it. If I just press enter, it doesn't do anything. If I type something that doesn't make any sense to R, I haven't happened to make the X variable, the X object, so R is actually giving me an error. This would happen anytime I did what I just did in R. Now I'm going to type in what swirl is asking me for, except I'm going to do it wrong. Let me do 5 plus 5. That's what my brain wanted to do the first time I read through this. And swirl's saying, try again. Now, swirl's pretty good. It's pretty stable. Occasionally, if you do something really bizarre, you might run into some trouble. You might have to restart your session, but overall, it's pretty stable. There, I gave it something weird, and it's just telling me, try again. If you are having trouble, if you're making typos or whatever, you can always copy and paste what they are asking you to do, and then press enter, and it'll say, excellent work. You copied and pasted what we asked you to do. Now they're going to ask me to view the contents of my little object X here. So I'm going to press X and enter. And now it's giving me lots of encouragement. So now we're going to make a new variable, Y, and we're going to do a little math on our original X variable. Now this is jumping ahead a little bit in terms of ideas. We're doing algebra basically here. X, which contains the value 3, or excuse me, contains a certain value. What did I put into it? 12. X contains the value of 12. I'm going to subtract 3. R is going to do that math for me. Let me just show you what that is. If I go X minus 3, I'm going to get 9, which is kind of the correct answer, but it's not exactly what I was looking for. So it's going to give me some suggestions. So let me do it more correctly. X minus 3. So I'm assigning the result of X minus 3. There we go. Now what is the value of Y? So I just type Y. All right. So I can keep moving through here, and now it's asking me to think about a new concept, which is creating a vector using the C function. Once you start spending time in R, you will see this all the time. I'm just going to copy and paste it there because I'm lazy. Now I'm going to intentionally make a mistake. I'm going to, instead of having the correct number in there, I'm going to put it in quotation marks. As you learn more about R, you'll learn that takes the number 3.14 and turns it into character data. So again, says I did something wrong, so haven't broken swirl yet. It's giving me nice hints. It says I can type the info command. Info is going to bring up those commands. Again, I have a cheat sheet on these. If I'm totally stuck or I'm not interested, I can type the skip command, and it's going to assume that I got the question correct. So now it's going to ask me something else, but I'm going to skip that also and just keep moving forward. Again, it pretends like I got it correct, and it'll actually act like I corrected. It'll enter in that value C. So swirl works pretty well. If I say I'm getting tired of swirl, or I want to just see, I just want to play around and I don't want to have it give me those warning messages, I can type play, and then when I'm done, I can type NXT for next. So now I can do whatever I want. It doesn't matter what swirl was originally telling me to do. I can just do whatever I want. If I am tired of playing around, I can type next. It'll bring me back in. It'll say resuming the lesson. Again, if I get lost, type info. It'll give me some suggestions for how to do. If I want to go back to the main page, I can go to main. I can start back if I want to go to another part of this swirl session. I already have R programming basics installed. So let me go to 1 and it's taking me back to my original session. Let me see if I go main and then 2, R programming. There we go. So now I'm back to my actual the actual page, the listing of all of these modules within this tutorial. I went to main, I selected no, let me start something new, because R programming basics, that's just a module within this overall tutorial. So then I selected 2, went back and I selected R programming because that's the course I have loaded. Now I can pick something else.